Hello and welcome back to another figure review. Today we're going to be looking at is the SH Figuarts Nappa. Finally, we've gotten a release of him. They teased him years and years ago, and now we have him in the flesh, except this time in cyan armor. So I want to go ahead and start it off by saying, obviously, all of this black panel lining that you see was done by me. It doesn't come factory like this. All this black line work does not come on your figure. It's entirely plain. I just went ahead and did it. Also did it on the shoes, just to add that little extra touch to the figure. Make it a little bit higher quality. So first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the packaging. So you have this really big box, and obviously with this newer styling that the new SH Figuarts come with. So I'm just going to do some quick spin around shots so you get a look at what the packaging looks like. I personally really like this new packaging that they're doing with the really large window styling. So we're going to move that to the side. Bring Nappa back in here, do a quick size comparison to the new 2.0 Scouter Vegeta, which I'd like to point out I also did the black panel lining on him as well. As you can see, he's much taller than Vegeta, but not entirely accurate, but obviously accurate enough to, you know, be larger than Vegeta. At least they didn't make him a very small figure. And that's something that I do want to go ahead and touch on. This guy is very large and very heavy. I'm really happy with the amount of plastic that they actually put into him for what you're paying for. I think I paid like 70 bucks for the pre-order, and I couldn't be happier with this figure. Well, I could be happier, and we'll get into that in a minute. So first things first, let's run through the accessories really quick. So in the way of heads, obviously, rather than having exchangeable faces, you have exchangeable heads. You just have the regular one on him, right there. And then you have the same head, but with the Scouter. And they're on these little stand things to keep them in the packaging from rolling around. And so the Scouter looks really good, but for some reason it's like kind of angled upward. I don't know if that's entirely accurate or not. It still looks really good to me. I would like to point out though, the eyes on the Scouter head are looking more forward than the eyes on the normal head. Not entirely sure why that is. I think this head looks a lot better than that one. That's just personal preference, I suppose. Then you have an angry face with the veins popping out on the head. I think there is actually a little bit of shading up here on the top of the head, which looks alright. The paintwork on the teeth and everything's really clean, no complaints at all. I think there's a little bit of shading around like the base of the head. It's a little bit hard to tell. It's very subtle, but it's there. And then you have the over 9,000 face. Alright, I guess I should say head. It's essentially the same thing as the yelling head, but with the eyes looking off to the side, and obviously a more shocked expression, which looks really good. Still, my personal favorite is the Scouter head. By way of hands, you have the two fist hands that come on him in the packaging. Two open palm, almost karate chop hands, but unlike the usual SH Figuarts hands, the thumbs aren't connected to the palm, which I think looks really, really good. Looks a lot better than the hands that they usually give us. So those are pretty good right there. And you have these two open palm style pose hands, and the obviously these fingers are connected to the hand at the palm. Looks really good though. Really happy with these hands. I really wish that this style of hand was included with more figures because it looks really great. And then finally with hands, you have his little signature hand for the move that I don't even know if it has a name, but you know, he just flicks his fingers up like that and big explosions. Also included, you have a standard SH Figuarts display base. No hook to hold the figure though, but that's not that big of a deal because we also get a blast effect, I guess. I don't know if this had a specific name in the anime or not. I don't recall, but it's really good. It just clips right on there. Unfortunately, it is kind of at a strange angle, and so sometimes it can be hard to get it to pose the way you want, especially if you want to have it like coming upward. It looks a little awkward because of the way that the display base is, but I think we can look past it. So on to the figure itself. So first thing that I do want to mention is this head. Finally, they've used a double ball peg, and I could not be happier with that. They just need to use double ball pegs with all of their necks. They don't need to have that stupid ball hinge combination that they usually have. Oh, it's also worth noting, I think there's a little bit of shading throughout the neck. It's kind of hard to tell. There's light shading throughout all of the body as well, and on these on the back of the arms and everything. The whole figure looks very, very appealing. But anyway, back to what I was saying. This affords, even without moving this neck, he can look up high enough. He can look down, not too far, but that's just due to the sculpt of the head. and he can look to the side a little bit, and he can rotate all the way around. That's all that they need to do with their figures. They don't need anything else. So down here at the neck, I believe it's just a single ball peg. And so in combination with the neck, he can look up really far, he can look down really far, and he can look to the side really well. And the sculpt looks really good there. Very happy with that. These shoulders flap up. They don't really look as good as Vegeta's because they're not hinged at the white part of the armor there. They're hinged about halfway through, so it doesn't look very good. But I don't think it's that big of a deal because this armor doesn't get in the way anyway. I assume that that's maybe just so that we can fit them in the space pods better. I haven't tried to fit these figures in any of the Saiyan pods because I don't own any. Now here's one of my biggest problems with the figure is these shoulders. They, rather than using what they've been using for SH Figuarts shoulders, they did a, it's almost Figma style. They have a ball peg that goes into the torso, and then a ball hinge, and then another ball peg. And so you can't really bring that arm up at all. You can't even bring it down all the way. That's as far down as it gets. So if you're trying to pose him with his arms at his sides, they come out at this angle. And that right there is as high as you can get the arm up. It's really limiting. You can swivel it around, and obviously that's a butterfly joint in there, I think. Yeah, so I guess that's just a socket and then a ball peg in there. And that helps a little bit with the posing, but you can't get that arm up. And it's really disappointing, but I suppose you're not going to have Nappa in that dynamic of poses that he would really need that articulation, but it still bothers me, and I wish that they would have just done what they've done with all of the other 2.0 figures. Just include that 2.0 shoulder articulation, excuse me. For the elbows, we have a really nice double jointed elbow, give you just about 90 degrees. Actually, I think if you use that top joint, you get slightly better than 90, and it looks all right. It's not the best looking joint, but I think it looks fine to me. You obviously get the standard SH Figuarts ball hinge wrists, and I'll just show you. That's what it's going to look like, obviously, when you take off the hands to swap them out or whatever. It's fine, provides just enough articulation. So for this torso here, it's kind of strange. It's just like the other 2.0 Saiyan armors. You can rotate it just a little bit, not too much, but when you go to bring it forward, you only get about that much. That's what you think at first. However, you can still push it forward over this little edge, which I obviously didn't notice when I was painting. When I was painting it, so I missed that. But you get more articulation forward than you would think. You just kind of have to push it a little bit, and then it'll snap back on. I think it just rubs up on that little ledge there, like that. And so you're not going to break your figure when you do that, but you get more articulation that way. And then I assume that this waist is just on a ball peg. You get enough rotation around. It's also worth noting that Nappa's tail isn't removable, and you can't exchange it with a longer tail. All you get is this one, which is a little bit disappointing, but whatever, I suppose. For these armor flaps, they're just like Vegeta's. They flip up and down as much as you would need them to. Now for the legs, they have the more traditional style SH Figuarts in the sense that they have the drop-down ball hinge, excuse me. So obviously, you can bring that down to give yourself a little bit more articulation. It's almost not noticeable, and I wish that they would have just gone with the normal 2.0 design. But it's not that big of a deal, I suppose. So you can bring the leg out about 45 degrees. When you utilize that extra drop-down, though, you still only get about 45 degrees, so it doesn't do that much for you. When you go to bring them out, you get them about 90 degrees, which is good enough for Nappa, I suppose. Even utilizing that drop down, bringing them straight forward, you only get about 90, but if you bring them out to the side, you can get a little bit more. For the knee, obviously, we have a similar style double hinge, like you do with the elbow. So when you use both of those hinges together, you get just about as much range as you would ever need with Nappa. And then at the ankles here, I'm really happy with this ankle articulation. Actually, it's far better than any of the Saiyan Armor's boots that we've ever had. I don't know what it is exactly. I would say it's probably like the D-Arts Mega Man figures. So you get enough of an ankle rocker that way. You also get a really good ankle rocker that way. You can bring it down really far. You can't bring it up too much, but I think you can bring it up enough to, do what you need to do with this figure. And in combination with this toe hinge, I think you can get just about as good articulation as you will ever need with Nappa. However, these toe hinges, they still have these little corners that stick out. I don't know why they do that. You're not going to be able to have your foot flat against the surface because of this little chunk that sticks out. It doesn't look good at all. I don't know what they were doing. But overall, I kind of sort of have mixed feelings about it. It's a really, really good figure, and I think it's worth every penny that you pay for it. I just wish that they would do better with these shoulders, and honestly, I think it would have been a perfect figure. But overall, I gotta say, it's definitely worth picking up, and you have to get it soon because it's going to skyrocket up in price as soon as they're all gone. So I can't recommend it enough, really. You gotta add it to your collection. So anyway, thank you for watching, and stay tuned. More coming soon.